back with you and giving you something several weeks from now that we call a primer. And just like, you think about priming the engine, I know that tomorrow will come and you will kind of get back on the horse and do things the way you've been doing them. Maybe, hopefully, you'll integrate these things, but life gets in the way. We got a holiday weekend coming up, and Greg will become a distant memory until May when Darcy tells you to show up again. I don't want that to happen. So part of this primer will be kind of a cheat sheet to give you some ideas to say, oh shoot, Pock Sam. Oh God, I forgot about that. Where did Pock come from? Am I pocking too much of my salmon? All of these things, all these peak leader elements, I want you to take it off the shelf, knock the dust off, and look about specifically what you wrote down in this session. And more importantly, hold yourselves accountable. I'm not asking you to share right now. I know these are some deeply personal things, but I'm hoping you will take this very seriously. And once again, it's how you get to that next level, which is why I kind of have cut this out and brought it as an excerpt. The idea of many of you, especially if you're on the younger end of the spectrum, Mr. 25-year-old, the technical skills, that reliance on all things technical. As you move through your career, the reliance on the technical is kind of like riding a bike. You never really forget how to do it. On the other hand, all these other skills, these soft skills, business skills, interpersonal skills, nunchuck skills, all of those things are going to become incredibly relevant to you as you continue to progress through your career. So part of this is to be thinking about how you get to the orange and blue things. Boy, isn't that convenient? The most important things are orange and blue. I don't know. I don't know where I went with that. That's not Auburn, I might add. That's not real. It's fake. Yeah, that's that fake orange and blue. The point is, when you think about this, where do you see yourself currently now? And then more importantly, 5-10 years from now, what do you look like? Will you be the next Rice, Channing, John, player to be named in the draft? How are you going to get there? What are you going to do to make it happen? You could even say, Greg, I want to be a project manager, but I want to be the best project manager Benning has ever had. I like to go down the history books as the best PM. That's great too. You don't have to have upward mobility to be successful. I want to be very clear on that. Growing can be just becoming better at what you do. So whether it's horizontal or upward, it doesn't matter, just as long as you're growing. I have one other thing to help you. This will be a homework assignment. It's a very, homework. Oh, God. And Darcy, I will give you the blanks for our,
okay.
Because you can make copies of this too for anyone.
Yeah,
and
I will.
If you could,
Here.
4 of you, if you could hand that, everything's sticking together. Oh, one more. I'm sorry, how did I skip you?
It's for the same amount.
I know, I just completely walked past you like an idiot. My bad. That's.
You can have my homework.
That was, you got me sidetracked when you were talking about the homework. See what happens? We just need one more. Because Greg can't count. Oh, there you go. So this is a very simple test. Actually, it's not even really a test. There are parameters that you will kind of add up, and we have the peak leader score, but this is to kind of see where you are on the POC and the POC and SAM continuum. I'm slurring my words here. But the idea of kind of figuring out where you are. Some of you may go, you land right in the middle, which I would probably expect a lot of you to do because of where you are in your career. But once again, it's about where you want to be, not currently where you are. So, this next section is just to kind of help continue this discussion about the, oh, do you have too many pages there? Or
No, I was just pointing it out to him. I'm trying.
Oh.
I'm trying to show, teach, and then follow up. Did you get that? Good boy.
Let's go pet your head.
So there's this and this.
Yeah, see, very good.
We reviewed.
A+ student.
Where's my apple? So, everything we've talked about, I just need to bring it back to this worldview once again. Because, and it's funny, the new generation, so for my millennials in the room, guess what? Just around the corner, there's another group coming out. They're called Gen Z. And because we need it, I know that was what this article was about. It was all things you could say, well, I thought millennials and Gen Z were the same. No, Gen Y and the millennials are the same thing. It doesn't matter. The point is, guess what? There's another group coming. So just when you thought, oh, wait, I'm just figuring out the millennial group, now I got to figure out a new group. It's evolving. The point is, how are people entering the workforce today different than when you came in? The natural gravitation here is you go, there are all these words in the bottom. Entitled, their parents coddled them, they didn't get any discipline, they think they're entitled to everything. Did I say entitled? Entitled?
Are they entitled?
Yeah, they entitled?
Yeah.
However, the one thing that we have not maybe talked about is, what are they good at? And when it comes to technology, for instance, here's a group that you hand them, I even see kids now in the airport, they're doing stuff on their iPads and iPhones, stuff that I'm like, I didn't know you could do that. And I think I'm pretty technologically evolved. But here's a group that's never, can you imagine saying this? There was never a time before the internet. I know I'm showing my age now, but when I went to Florida, we didn't have the internet. We had what was called Pine. And that was a server you had to dial into just to get access, and there was only a certain number of slots. So you can imagine, UF has 47,000 students trying to all climb into this kind of portal. I mean, the internet now has got 1 million openings or billions of openings. There's no access denied. The point is, you talk to that group, they kind of go, what are you, a dinosaur shopman? You didn't have the internet in college? How did you ever survive? I'm trying to figure it out too. I'm trying to figure out how I graduated, to be honest with you. The moral of the story is we tend to focus on the negative. As I said with the Gen Xers, we were, they were slackers and lazy, and any other, wonderful, colorful thing they could say about us. Yet, look at who's running a lot of businesses now. It's that Gen Xers. They're fiercely independent. We didn't talk about that much for that group of folks. Folks that, didn't need a lot of management or micromanagement, but once again, they were able to do things. Were they flawed? Absolutely. Every generation has those things that make them successful and things that challenge them. But have we adapted or changed our management style and philosophy? As I said, it's a heck of a lot easier to change me. That doesn't mean I acquiesce. I want to be very clear. People hear this and they'll come up to me at break and go, so you're saying I should just let these millennials and give them all a trophy? I said, I didn't say that. But at least understanding what motivates them and getting those folks maybe motivated differently. I just haven't found the right thing to motivate them. However, to use this example, is the millennial generation particularly motivated by money?
Somewhat.
There are some folks, and it's funny because the studies I've read, they're less concerned, and this is predominantly metropolitan markets, maybe like Atlanta, but you see a lot of traditional millennials that got rid of their cars. They're doing, kind of living almost in communes, which makes it sound very hippie-esque.
Because they have so much college debt that they're having to...
They're having to kind of have 85 roommates. To some extent, they're like, I want to be more eco-friendly, don't want my car. My niece lives in Brooklyn, and she got rid of her car. She has a apartment with her boyfriend that I think might be as big as this table. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a joke. Her rent is also half of my mortgage payment, which that's a whole other story. But the moral of the story is, there's a motivation there that's beyond money. For instance, you talk about 401k, ESOPs, profit sharing, retirement funds. I remember back when I was a 22-year-old and people were talking about, Roth or IRAs. I'm like, what the heck is that? Oh, it's when you turn 65. Shut up. I got 40 years. Don't bring me that stuff. Point is, are we reaching the right group with those right motivational tools? Not only from a company standpoint, but from a generational standpoint. So how you're leading your people. Are you taking the things that motivate you and what motivated your generation, or are you motivating them with things that are in their wheelhouse? Just something to ponder. Because all of these things will continue to help change what happens with generation double Z or double X. I don't know what the next one's going to be. I don't know why they started Gen X anyway, by the way. It seems a very limiting factor at that point. So I've got a workshop for you, and boy is this timely. So this is the session you're going to work on together. I'll try to read this maybe with a little more context to help you out. A small group consisting of several supers and PMs have developed a new process for short interval planning in our company. This process requires that each superintendent document a thorough short interval plan Thursday for the following 2 weeks. Your team has developed the format, worked out the bugs, and is now faced with rolling out this new process for implementation. Sounds excellent. During the discussions, your team has identified several potential obstacles to implementing this process. One of those, his name is Butch. Butch is a 62-year-old superintendent that has been with the company for 35 years. He's a dominant leader that demands the best of his people. In the last month alone, he has fired several workers and cursed out his project manager for not having his materials on site when needed. He also complains about the amount of paperwork that superintendents already have to do. However, in spite of his unpolished image, Butch has made the company a lot of money. He always beats the budget and often works 65 to 70 hours a week to do whatever it takes. Your team has already heard rumors that Butch will not support the idea of filling out more paperwork, and he's kind of took a dump on this. You expect he will flat out refuse to do this short interval plan and fear that others will wait to see how Butch responds. Question for your small teams: what do you do with a problem like Butch? So, talk about how you, as the leadership of this organization, would deal with this situation. There are no right answers or wrong answers, there are only answers. So brainstorm all the potential things that could happen.